Okay, this is question 18 from the Year 9 2008 non-calculator paper. This jug has some milk in it. Now we can see that we've got less than 1 litre. Okay, let's see what we've got. To get to the 1 litre mark, there are 4 intervals or 4 graduations. So if we do 1 litre and you want to divide it by 4, that's the same as doing 1,000 mils divided by 4. So each graduation is 250 mils. So here we've got 500 where I've got my mark there, and currently we're sitting at 750 mils. Okay, that one down there is 500 and the first dash is 250 mils. Now if Eve adds an extra 500 mils of milk into the jug, how many mils will be in there? So as I said, we've got a litre. This is half a litre. That's 3/4 of a litre. As we said before, that's 750 mils. If you add 500 mils, another 250 gives me a litre. You would end up here with another 500 would give me 1,250 mils. So we had 750, because what we did with that 250, we times it by 3 to get 750. So 250, 500, 750, we're adding another 500 and we end up with 1,250 mils. So that's our answer. Okay? Okay, now in this question here it says, Anna recorded the colour of 50 cars in this table. And we've got all the colours and a total. And it says what percentage of the cars is red. Now before you can work out what percentage of the cars is red, you need to work out how many cars are red. So there were 50 cars altogether, and let's see how many cars we had. We had 25 white, 4 blue and 5 yellow. If you add those numbers up, it's easier to add the 25 with the 5 to give you 30, plus 4 is 34 cars so far. So therefore the number of red cars must be 50 take away 34, which is 16. So in there I've got 16 red cars. Now notice these are out of 50. So what you can do to make it a percent, this is 16. To make it a percent, you can just double everything because percentages are out of 100. So we can say red is 16 out of 50. To change it to a percentage, it really needs to be out of 100. So to go from 50 to 100, you times by 2. And also, so you need to do the same to the numerator. 16 times 2 is 32. Now 32 over 100 means 32%. So the percentage of cars that are red is 32%. The other thing you could have just done is with this table, you can say, right, I know that percentages are out of 100. I'm just going to double that to get 100. I'll double this to get 32. So 32 out of 100 are red, so that's 32%. Or the other thing you could have done is the following. 16 out of 50 is the fraction that are red. To change it to a percentage, you times by 100% over 1. We know that 50 goes into 100 twice. So 16 times 2, again, is 32. And we've got 32%. So that's just a few ways you could have done that question. Okay, now for question 20. Tony drove 300 kilometres in 4.5 hours. So, okay, so he's driven 300 kilometres in 4.5 hours. Now, his average speed for the first 180 kilometres was 60 kilometres an hour. So if he does 60 kilometres in the first hour, 60 kilometres in the second hour, 60 kilometres in the third hour, per hour in 1 hour. Okay, so 60 kilometres in the first hour, 60 in the second, 60 in the third. He's obviously travelled for 3 hours. It took him 3 hours to do that. So he has travelled 180 kilometres in 3 hours. So I'm just going to put here that he's travelled 180 kilometres in 3 hours in there. So you can't read that very well. 180 kilometres in 3 hours. Now, he travelled altogether, he travelled 300 kilometres. So 300 take away 180 is the last 120 kilometres. Now the whole thing took him 4.5 hours, so the rest of this would have taken, we do 4.5 minus 3, because we've already travelled for 3 hours. 4.5 minus 3 is 1.5 hours. So it took him 1.5 hours to travel that last 120 kilometres. Okay, now for question 21. What is the answer to 6.6 divided by 0.3? Now, with this question, when we divide decimals, we don't like to divide by a decimal. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at 6.6 divided by 0.3, that is the same as if I divide 66 divided by 3. So what I'm doing is I'm moving the decimal place one place to the right here, and this decimal place one place to the right. Or what I'm doing is multiplying both those numbers by 10. When you multiply it by 10, you move everything one decimal place to the right. So you keep doing that until the number that you're dividing by has no decimals in it. So move that. So move this one 1. So move this one to the right. So that's the same as doing 66 divided by 3. So that's the same as 3 into 66. So 3 goes into 6 twice, and 3 goes into 6 twice. So the answer is 22. Now, if you can't remember how to do that, your other option is to try multiplying these answers with the 0.3. Because remember, the opposite of division is multiplication. So you've got to think, 0.3 times 0.022. If you try that, 0.3 times 0.022, your answer will have 4 decimal places, 4 digits after the decimal point. And this only has 1 digit, so it's not that, okay? This one, 0.3 times 0.22, your answer should have 1, 2, 3. You count how many digits after the decimal point, there are 3. And this only has 1. You might find this more complicated, all right? 2.2 times 0.3. The answer here will have 2 decimal places in the answer. Here you've only got 1, or this one. 22 times 0.3. You've only got 1 digit after the decimal point, so 1 digit here. The other thing you can do, you can see which one makes sense. Dividing it by 0.3 is almost dividing it into thirds, okay? So if you divided 6 or 7 roughly into thirds, you'd end up with about 21 pieces. So that's fairly close to the closest number there to 21. Okay, now for question 22. And it says the distance from P to Q is 4 times the distance from Q to R. So this is 4 times this one. Okay? So that means I can say, well, I've got 5 parts. So if this one is 4 times that, I could break this up into 4 parts. Okay? That's what I could do. I could break this up into 4 parts, because this one is 4 times longer than that, and that gives me 5 parts in total. So I've got 5 parts in total. So we want to know the distance from Q to R. So what we're going to do, because I've got 5 parts that make up the 120 metres, I'll go 120 divided by 5. I'll just work that up here. 5 into 120. Does 5 go into 1? No. 5 into 12 goes twice with 2 remainder. 5 into 20 is 24. So therefore, 1 part is 24. So therefore, the distance from Q to R is 24. Look, the other way you can do this is by guessing and checking the answer. Right, if they tell you that QR is, you know that this one is 4 times bigger than QR, so PQ is 4 times bigger, you can try all these different answers. You might try 20 metres. For example, if this is 20 from Q to R, and the other one is 4 times bigger, which is 80, 80 and 20, that doesn't add up to 120, that only adds up to 100, so it can't be that. You can also try 24. So if this one's 24, then this is 4 parts. So I need to do 24 times 4, And if you do that, you get 96. So I look at that and I say, well, if all of that's 96 and that's 24, 96 and 24, yes, that's 120. And so that is another way that you could have worked out that the answer was 24. Okay, question 23, we need to solve this equation. What is the value of b in this equation? So we've got 5b minus 4 equals 2b plus 17. Remember, the object is to get any b's on the left-hand side, and we'll get the numbers on the right. So keeping the 5b here, we're going to take this 2b over to the other side. This is a plus 2b, so it'll be minus 2b. Let's keep the plus 17 over here. And this minus 4, opposite of that, is plus 4. So then we get 5b minus 2b is 3b equals 17 plus 4 is 21. So that's 3 times b, so the opposite of timesing is dividing. So dividing by 3, we get b is 21 divided by 3, which is 7. Okay, so the answer to that is 7. Now for question 24. A signal at a pedestrian crossing near Sam's house says red for 30 seconds. It then changes to green for 20 seconds. The question is, it stays red for 30 seconds. It then changes to green for 20 seconds. What is the probability that it will be green the next time Sam wants to use this crossing? So we've got red for 30 seconds. And green is 20 seconds. So our total timing is 50 seconds. So the probability that it will be green. So green is 20 out of 50. So probability of green is 20 out of 50. Now 20 out of 50 is the same as 2 out of 5. Now these are all decimals, so you need to know your fraction to decimal conversions. So what I might do here, an easy way to do it, if you know that 2/5 is 0.4, then that will be the answer. The other thing you can do is make this out of 100 by multiplying the numerator and the denominator by 2. So we've got 20 over 50 is the same as 40 over 100. Now 40 over 100, if you divide both the numerator and the denominator by 10, is 4/10. And we know that 0.4 is 4 in the tenths column. So that would give me 0.4. Okay, the other way is to know that 1/5 is 0.2. So 2/5 will be, so 1/5 is 0.2, 2/5 is 0.6. We know that 0.5 is a half. Just to know your common decimals to fraction conversions would help. 0.6 is 6/10 or 3/5. Okay, so you can think of it like that too. You can say, well, 0.2 is 2/10, which I know is 1/5. The other thing you could have done with this is you could have said, well, 0.4 is 4/10, and if I simplify that, I get 2/5. And we know that over here, 20 over 50, we can write that as 2/5 as well. So that's just another way you could have done it, okay? Rather than working this way, you could have worked from the answer and tried to see which of the answers is correct. Right, question 25 will start in the next video.